Okay, so this one's a little interesting. This one gives me very uncomfy vibes because it's another story kind of about friendship, but you'll see what I mean. But like if my friend was doing this, like, or if I was supporting my friend doing this, it would be really fucked up. So I think my sister-in-law's 23 female best friend is trying to get with my 25 female husband, 28 male, and she's encouraging it. Am I delusional?
That the sister-in-law is encouraging it?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Yes.
My sister-in-law, 23 female, is my husband's half-sister. She was the product of their mother's infidelity. His father divorced their mother when he was 12 after he found out through a paternity test she wasn't his.
Damn.
My father-in-law refused to have anything to do with my sister-in-law, but continued to have a relationship with my husband. Because of this, my sister-in-law is very clingy to my husband. My husband is also very protective of his sister and generally doesn't tolerate anything negative being said about her, which is why I'm posting this here before mentioning it to him. My husband and I bought a house last year, which has its own indoor swimming pool. My sister-in-law was super excited when she saw it and asked if she could use it sometimes with her friend. We said it was fine as long as she gave us a notice before she turned up. Her and her friend Chloe have used it many times before, but almost never when my husband is home. He is a lawyer and works long hours. With lockdown, my husband has started to work from home. My sister-in-law asked me if she and Chloe could come over and use the pool. I told her I was uncomfortable with them coming over as I'm pregnant and don't want to accidentally expose the baby to anything risky. My sister-in-law then asked if she and Chloe quarantined for 2 weeks, would they be able to come over? My husband said it was fine. 2 weeks later, they turn up to my house. My husband was in his office, so they go straight to the pool after making small talk. My husband ends up coming out after an hour, and we're hanging out in the kitchen. My sister-in-law walks in to get a drink, and she starts talking to my husband. Before she goes back to the pool, she says, "Chloe's going to be so happy to see you." It was weird because my husband and Chloe aren't close. Chloe comes into the kitchen 2 minutes later and spends the rest of her time talking to my husband until he excuses himself to get back to work. She's super giggly and smiley when she talks to him. He would say something sarcastic and she would laugh like it was the funniest joke she's ever heard. It honestly felt like she was flirting with him. Before she went back to the pool, she gave me this weird, smirky look. Before they leave, they ask my husband if he's working from home every day of the week. He confirms he is. The next 2 weeks, they come over to the house to swim every single day, except Chloe never gets in the water. Instead, she hangs around the house in her bikini. She was previously wearing a one-piece, if that makes a difference, every single day. Whenever my husband comes out to hang around me, she quickly interrupts him and keeps him talking until he has to go back to work. I made lunch for us all, and when I excused myself to call my husband down, my sister-in-law quickly stopped me and said Chloe could call him for me. They shared a look, and Chloe looked really happy when she went to get him. Chloe also started to get touchier with my husband. She put her hands on his chest and arms, stands or sits really close to him. To my husband's credit, he does usually create space between them whenever she does something like this. The reason I believe my sister-in-law is in on this is because she's made a few pregnancy-related jabs at me recently. She told me a story about how one of her friends' boyfriends was cheating on her, and then something along the lines of, quote, "Did you know a lot of men start cheating when their wives are pregnant?" She's also made comments about how I look chubby now, and it looks weird next to my husband because he's well built. If she spots my husband out of the office, she quickly goes to inform Chloe. I know pregnancy hormones can mess with a person's brain, so I'm wondering if I'm just looking for something that isn't there. My sister-in-law sent me a text yesterday asking if they could come over to swim next week, and I really want to say no, but I know she'll whine to my husband if I do. I ideally want to have a conversation with him before then, but I'm not sure if I should mention the flirting. Am I being delusional? No, girl, it's right in front of you.
What the fuck?
You're spot on.
What the fuck?
This is so uncomfy. You see what I mean? Like if your friend was doing this, but like you're encouraging it.
I'm so upset.
You're encouraging it.
So, how old are they again? Remind me.
So the two girls, the sister-in-law and the friend, are 23.
And how old is the wife?
The wife is 25 and the husband is 28.
Got it.
So they're all like not
Very similar in age.
not big age gaps, and like 23, they're kind of on the same, playing field. So I'm sure her friend is like, especially the sister-in-law, the friend and the wife are only 2 years apart. So the sister-in-law is probably like, this could be you. This could be your house and your pool. You should get in there. Tap that. Tap my brother's ass.
This is so messed up. I mean, even if nothing else, for her to make a comment, did you know that most men cheat when their wives are pregnant? That's enough. You know what I mean? Like,
so
that,
weird.
Who says that to a pregnant woman? What? That is evil.
Evil.
Why?
Evil.
I don't care if the statistic is true or wherever you got your information. You don't fucking say that to a hormonal pregnant wife. You bitch.
Like, well, I don't understand what you were trying to get accomplished besides the only thing you could be trying to do at that.
Push doubt in her mind.
Make her insecure.
Exactly.
Make her think she has reason
Yeah.
to fear something
Yeah.
or suspect something. Yeah. It's really kind of unhinged.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the sister, just because of like the dynamic with the dad, it sounds like that's a really complicated and like traumatic upbringing to have like, your older brother have a dad that like was supposed to be your dad, but your mom cheated and he doesn't acknowledge you, ignores you, whatever. You're the reason for their divorce. Like, I'm sure that is such a traumatic upbringing. And so the fact that, she really clings to the brother, I'm sure she sees his wife and this, new baby as a threat to her.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's kind of where this is coming from. But it's also like, well, what happens if your friend actually did get in there? Then your friend would be with your brother.
But she's best friends with her, so it's those two against the world is probably what her mind is.
I know. I feel
thinking.
like it's kind of like a means to an end. Like, I think she's just like, just get in there and break them up. I don't know. I don't know. But there's an update.
I guess. Okay, what's the update?
There's an update. Well, I read and reread all of the comments on the original post to try and figure out how I was going to bring up the issue. Turns out I didn't have to. We were watching a movie and my phone lit up with another text from my sister-in-law telling me she was now going to be here at 1 p.m. the next day to swim with Chloe. My husband saw it and told me to tell her not to come. This is really weird behavior for my husband because he tends to do anything to accommodate my sister-in-law.
Hell yeah.
Woohoo! Woo! And very rarely refuses her anything. I asked him if something had happened and he shrugged it off and we kept watching the movie. A few minutes later, he paused the movie and said he wanted to ask me a question. He asked if I'd noticed Chloe never swam when she came to our house. I wish I could say I was calm and collected, like the comments were advising, but I ended up laughing hysterically. I was honestly just so relieved he'd brought it up instead of me having to be the one to do it. I think my husband,
true.
So uncomfortable, especially because that's his family.
Yeah.
He's protective. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to give him reason to be like mad at you.
But you hear so many stories where the husband or the wife or whoever it seems like they're so oblivious to what's going on. They're like,
Yes.
no, you're making that up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's in your head. So this is so satisfying that he's the one to be like, you know what? She made me a little uncomfortable.
So refreshing. So refreshing.
So nice.
I think my husband thought I was losing my mind. When I finally stopped laughing, probably just like, what the fuck is happening here? When I finally stopped laughing, he repeated the question and said he wanted a serious answer. I said, of course I've noticed. And he awkwardly replied, so you must have noticed the other thing too. To summarize the conversation that followed, my husband hadn't noticed Chloe was flirting with him the first few days because he was so busy with work. He wasn't really paying attention to anything else. He said when she started getting handsy is when he suddenly had the light bulb moment that she was into him. He says he didn't want to unnecessarily stress me out, so he never mentioned anything. But he was worried I noticed too and thought he was interested because he hadn't immediately shut it down. He realized we would eventually have to have this talk, but he wasn't sure how to bring it up. Oh, the irony. Mm-hmm. He did privately speak to Chloe and told her he was happily married and wasn't interested in starting anything with anyone else. Apparently, she never took him seriously because she kept doing it. Chloe is going to get banned from the house.
Wait, so he said this to Chloe before this conversation happened?
Yeah, and she still kept doing
What
it.
a little fucking bitch.
The balls this girl has.
Because
The audacity.
I just can't even imagine how, for me, if I'm ever around a couple, I make sure to make the female feel very included and very comfortable.
I acknowledge the female more.
Yes. So I don't understand how you have the nerve to do this in someone else's house around their pregnant wife.
In their home.
That is some type of crazy bitch.
In their
That
home.
is insane to me.
In front of her. Can you imagine?
And then the fact that he said something to her and she still continues. What a bitch. How delusional is she?
She's very, very confused.
Fuck her.
She's a little unhinged.
Oh my God. I'm heated.
In the end, he called his sister on Sunday to tell her either she got her to stop or Chloe couldn't come over anymore. His sister ended up having a tantrum and said a few nasty things about me, the baby, and our relationship.
Wow.
I'm dumbfounded.
I think you're right. I think it's just a insecurity because of her own upbringing.
Yeah. She insisted I was somehow behind his request and made some comments about how I was controlling and insecure because I looked like a beached whale and Chloe was younger and hotter.
Fucking.
He was pretty pissed at this and said if she said something like that about me again, he would stop talking to her.
Yeah. Good.
I love this. Setting boundaries. I
Yeah.
absolutely love this. This is what a supportive partner looks like.
Yeah.
This is great. She claimed I had baby trapped him, and when my husband pointed out we were already married, so I didn't need to trap him, and that he was the one who wanted to start a family, she kept insisting I had manipulated him into feeling that way. She claimed he was unhappy in our relationship, and he always looked tired because I was forcing him to slave away to fund my fancy lifestyle while I sat on my ass all day. He pointed out he chose to be a lawyer, knowing he would have to work long hours, and I had only recently left my job, so her accusations were baseless. She said some other stuff along the lines, but the thing that made my husband finally snap was when she said the baby, was already ruining everything, and it was just going to get worse when it was born, and he should have dragged me to the abortion clinic while he had the chance.
What type of psycho bitch is this girl?
Oh my God. Wow. He told her neither her nor Chloe were welcome in our home anymore until they've apologized for how they've been behaving and for the things my sister-in-law said.
No, Chloe is never allowed back in there. I'm sorry. No chance in hell.
Chloe would receive a lifetime ban.
Absolutely.
I think the fact that he already confronted her and she continued to cross boundaries and try to touch him and try to seduce him, done.
Unreal.
The sister, family. You don't have to deal with family.
Honestly, after what she's saying though, I would be livid. I would say you are not my family anymore because you do not treat me, my future baby, my wife, the way that you have.
No.
You know, I mean, unless you go and get serious help because you need it,
Yeah.
you are not allowed back in my life.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're blood. You do not treat people you love the way that she's treating him and the words that she's saying. Even if he was in a toxic relationship, let's say that OP somehow is just a huge fucking raging bitch.
Yeah.
You still do not do the things that she did.
No,
that is not how you go about it. That is not how you treat people. That's not how you talk about people when that's his future. That's his
family.
That's his family. That's his son. That's not how you
Yeah. It's really messed up. I think clearly this is like a wanted pregnancy and they're very excited and all of this stuff. And to call her a beached whale, okay, that's pretty bad. She's fucking pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
The average like weight gain for a pregnant woman is I think like 30 pounds. That's the average weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
So of course she's fucking baking a baby inside of her. You're going to gain weight and not look like yourself. So really fucking rude. But then to say like you should have dragged her to the abortion clinic.
That's exactly where I completely drew the line on everything.
No one should ever be dragged to an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
Like an abortion should be their choice, but like that's so beside the point. Like, this is planned, happy. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, but you're right. It's like, even if she considered it, even if he considered it, that's not his place to drag a woman to an abortion clinic.
No.
And that is never anyone's place to make a comment like that.
It's actually kind of scary.
It is scary.
But that's where her mind went.
That's why I'm freaking out right now, because I'm like, this is not just someone being a bitch. This is scary. You brought up Gone Girl.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sounds like some Gone Girl type of mentality.
Well, it almost does.
She's plotting.
That's it. That's like, if you're already saying, like, I get the baby's not here yet, so you haven't had a chance to form a connection, and she's feeling threatened and insecure, and so she's like, just get rid of it. But would you then trust her around your baby once it's born? Because you can already tell she resents the child so much before even meeting it.
Right.
I wouldn't trust her to babysit.
And his family. She resents
the wife.
His family.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. And that probably is stemming from some type of insecurity, which is really sad. However, she still needs to get help, because that is so insanely unacceptable.
It's bad.
And I feel so bad for OP, because what do? You know that your husband still, loves his little sister.
Yeah.
But like, I would never want her near me or my baby or my husband or my house, because how she
it's terrible
acted.
what she did.
Yeah, it's not
Terrible.
like it was even just a moment of her bitching and saying really mean words, because that, sure, she could take back. She could say, I was just having a freak out moment.
Yeah.
But the fact that she was plotting that entire time, that...
She was deceiving. She was coming over with a plot and trying to wiggle her way and her friend in. Yeah.
And that's what's too far. That's where I would be like, I don't want you in my life at all. So I feel so bad for her, because obviously the sister's most likely going to continue to stay in their lives.
Yeah.
Hopefully the sister just gets help, though, because that would be the best case scenario.
There's a little bit more of the update, so let's see what they say. He said he wasn't sure he could ever forgive or forget what she'd said about our child, even if she did apologize, and he couldn't believe she would even think something like that, let alone say it. Apparently, she started crying and said she was sorry, that she didn't mean it, and she was just scared to lose him, and that she wasn't thinking clearly. He hung up on her. He showed me his phone, and she's been calling him and texting him since, begging him to reply. He asked if she'd said anything to me. I was debating whether to say anything or not, but he kept insisting he knew she had said something, and he wanted to know what it was. I told him the things I mentioned in the original post and a few other things she had said. He asked me why I never mentioned anything when she first said it, and I mentioned how he got really defensive whenever I said anything even slightly negative about his sister, and he got defensive. I pointed out he was doing it again, and after some back and forth, he admitted that, quote, maybe he was a little bit defensive when it came to her, but he promised to stop, and he wanted to make sure we could talk about anything, including his sister. He ended up mentioning wanting to try couples counseling. He said it wasn't because he thought there was something wrong with our relationship, but apparently he had been speaking to his dad a lot recently, and he mentioned one thing he regretted about his marriage with mother-in-law is that they never went to therapy until the cracks in their relationship were too big. In his
Good for him.
I love it.
I love him.
In his current marriage, they go, and it's helped him avoid the mistakes of his first marriage. I agreed. So we're probably going to try that.
OP, is your husband single?
Does he have a brother?
Just kidding. I always love those comments on TikTok.
Yeah. Is your husband single?
Is your boyfriend single?
Yeah, I love couples counseling. That's something like Justin and I like really want to go to, just as like a maintenance. Like you it's before cracks, like they said, before any cracks get bigger, and it's just like solidify your communication, because I think defensiveness is something that it is really easy to get defensive, because like you don't want to feel attacked, you want to not feel like a bad person, or like know whatever the reason is, but it's one of those 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that the book that we're reading talks about. John Gottman, What Makes Love Last. And so I really, really, really love this take on couples therapy. And
yeah, me too.
Again, here I am, plug-in therapy.
Yeah, he sounds pretty awesome. I'm really liking the end of the story.
Yeah. Just final tidbit. My husband thinks my sister-in-law will eventually turn up, even if we tell her not to. But he promised he'd deal with her if she does. So Reddit, I guess you were right. I really just did need to speak with him. Thanks for the advice and the comments. I enjoyed reading them all.
Aww, happy ending.
I know, such a good update.
Yeah, well, hopefully the sister gets help, though, because that, I mean, it does make me feel really happy that she did switch and apologize and say she wasn't thinking clearly because
I mean, it came out in the end.
yeah, I'm really glad that she said all that because if she stood by that, then I would be so concerned. But I think it really was just being so afraid of losing him, which is ironic because it's what pushes people away. Like, don't treat people like that when you're afraid of losing them. Why treat them like ass when you're afraid of losing them?
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
You're going to be the reason you do lose
Yeah.
them in that
The
case.
logic is flawed. But anyway,
I'm so happy this one turned out good.
me too. Sorry, sister-in-law, for calling you a bitch so many times. I was also not in my right mind because I was upset.
Hey, if the shoe fits.
Yeah.